I love this quote by Hafiz. The words you speak become the house you live in. If so, it's even more true that the thoughts you think become the house you live in. Welcome to Positively Rebellious, a podcast on our journeys of transformation and manifestation. I'm your host, Joanna, a certified life coach and a hypnotherapist. In the podcast, we are exploring subjects from weight loss to creativity, procrastination, spirituality, personal fulfillment. Episode number 3: How to create mindset shifts. You can't run away from your thoughts, they are always there. Today I want to talk about mindset being a collection of thoughts. The house you live in. Mindset is affecting how we experience life and what we create in each area of life. If you don't like the experience that your mindset is creating, what can you do? A brain transplant is not an option. So in this episode, I want to share real-life experiences of the impact of changing just one thought, few thoughts, or the mindset in a specific area of life. Usually, we work on a specific area. It's not like we are changing the whole outlook on life. You want to change your money mindset to make more of it. You want to change mindset regarding your relationships to create happier ones. Mindset regarding weight loss to stop overeating or stop overdrinking. Coincidentally, I recently thought of this metaphor of a house in a coaching session. Changing the mindset is like tearing down an old house and rebuilding it from the bottom up. It was a client who had decades of beliefs and thoughts that created extra pounds, and she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it, she doesn't want to keep it, so she can't keep the thoughts that cause it. She was passionately sharing with me how she cannot change certain thoughts about sweet stuff. But these were only few thoughts. To undo decades of beliefs, we need to change the mindset. Even if people have no patience for this, they have no patience for themselves, I have patience for both of us. So I was sharing how now we are taking down the old house, and it was only our 5th week of working together. Old mindset, and we are building a new one. Now we have the mess, the construction going on, the dust. The thoughts that she said she couldn't change were part of the construction mess. Well, actually, if it was a real construction, it wouldn't happen, right? But here we are doing it differently. We are already building something new. But we are stumbling upon some mess that is still there. And she already lost weight. She's already thinking in a different direction, meaning already adopted some new thoughts. But some are still in the way. So 10 minutes into the session, I don't know, maybe 10-15, we loosen up the roots of the negative thoughts. And the following week, she told me she was so glad that I didn't let her believe that she can't. That I didn't let her believe the BS, as she called it. But only several days ago, she was sure that that was the truth about her. And that was about sugar addiction. So you see, this is a steady, incremental process. To move from, let's say, 200 pounds to 150 pounds, you will need to change the mindset, one thought at a time. Also, if you are a drinker, procrastinator, chocoholic, and you want life free of alcohol, procrastination, or chocolate and sweets, it is a mindset change. One indicator of transformation is how the emotions change. I mean, there is no drama if you don't want to change anything, right? We simply don't know how addicted we are to something unless we remove it. But when you initiate change, you have more negative emotions coming up, especially when you want to just use willpower. You may go back to the habit many times, then you struggle again, and then if you practice new thoughts, slowly the urges become less urgent, the desperation less desperate, and less frequent. You become free. And one day you realize. You say, I just don't eat chocolate, I don't drink alcohol, I'm a non-smoker, I'm getting things done. I trust myself. You start defining yourself as a new person. It was unthinkable for you before. It happened because you practiced. You practiced the new skills. That was an example of a whole mindset change. But sometimes you don't need to do so much work. Sometimes the mindset change is like painting a room. You just change few thoughts. So I want to share an example of resentment. I was working in my personal spiritual practice on cleaning up any resentment. I had resentment because I thought I should share with somebody what would be better for this person in their life. How arrogant. I thought that maybe the person doesn't see that, and I will share. I even lost sleep about trying to help somebody. But I was playing it out in my head, and I was thinking, how am I going to say this so this person doesn't think that I want to say this, but they will come to the conclusion, oh my gosh. So I had 4 coaching sessions about it, 4 times 20 minutes. And finally it clicked for me, and I was free of that drama and planning to help somebody who didn't want my help. So how did I know that I changed totally the thoughts? How do I know? Because before I was having my nose in not my business, even though I believed that I had a very noble reason. And then suddenly I was able to mind my own business, which is more rewarding because when I tell myself I should do something, it's usually for a good reason, and I do it. I don't have to manipulate myself. And I think that this example may be helpful for many people because I hear it all the time. They should do something. She should do something. People shouldn't do this. Do you notice how much we suffer when we think what other people should be doing? For example, parents, kids, students, people on the road, co-workers. Everybody should be doing something else than they are doing. So watch that thought because it is causing you also a lot of trouble. So that was an example of just changing your thoughts. But sometimes it is a correction of just one thought, like moving furniture around. You don't have to take down your whole house and build a new one if you want to feel like something is new. You move furniture around and still you walk in and it feels different. This example is so simple you may not believe it is impactful, but check it for yourself. We often share with other people, I have to do so many things. It comes across as a complaint. It impacts how we do the thing, if we even do it. And often we say we have to do something, and this is exactly what we procrastinate on. I have to do so many things. It seems like a fact, but look closer. You don't have to. Of course, there are consequences, but also you have good reasons to do this. You cannot prove that you have to. When you realize you don't have to, but instead you choose to or you want to, the energy changes instantly for most of us. At least I noticed we stop complaining about having to do something. When you admit to yourself that you don't have to, but you choose to and want to, you show up to it with different energy. So now let's move on to the details of how it all happens. But before I get to it, in the next episode, I will share obstacles to mindset reset, what we do to slow down the process. And I think I will post the episode also this week because I wasn't consistent, but I'm learning. The 2 basic powerful steps we need to start changing our mindset and our thoughts. Number 1, empty your mind. See what thoughts are you thinking. Step 2, separate facts from thoughts. So let's look at number 1. Empty your mind. See what thoughts you are thinking. What thoughts are causing you pain or problems? You will not see this at first because you will believe that other people or the circumstances or what's going on outside of you is causing you the pain and problems or anxiety, certain feelings. But with time, you will notice. There are thoughts that do not belong in the new and better chapter in your life. So how do we empty our mind? We journal without editing ourselves. We do stream of consciousness writing, as Julia Cameron called it. We do meditative writing. We get coached. We do thought download, as Brooke Castillo calls it. Empty the mind like you empty a messy drawer or a purse. Taking the inventory of what goes back and what doesn't. The next step is as powerful as it is necessary. Separate facts from thoughts. Now this is tricky, and it's good to have some help here. As I said, you will not believe that certain things are facts and the thoughts are not facts. You will think that what you think are facts. But that's not helpful. Let's see. What are really facts? Facts are other people, the weather, your past, things everybody would agree on, proven diagnosis, physical condition. We often believe in our limiting thoughts that they are facts. We are going to want to believe it and argue for it, even though you want something that you cannot have with that thought. I think I have to repeat that sentence. We want to believe and argue a thought even if we want something that we cannot have with that thought. What do I mean? You will want to argue that this is a fact. The meal is not complete without a dessert. However, you cannot keep the thought if you want to lose weight. Another thought. I need a drink every day after work. You don't know my life. I just need a drink. However, you cannot keep that thought if you want to be free of that habit or lose weight. You may say, I can't imagine life without pastries. You will want to argue that this is true. You will want to defend this thought. Life is sad without chocolate. I feel sorry for people who don't eat chocolate. However, I cannot take this thought with me if I want to lose weight, if I want to improve my cycling performance. You may want to argue that it is important what other people think, that you have to do something for somebody else, even though you really don't want to do this, because what are they going to think? You have to make sure that this person likes you. However, you cannot take this thought with you if you want to live authentically on your own terms. You will want to argue that your friend should act differently. But you cannot take this thought and judgment into the future with you if you want to keep pure love and trust in the relationship. Even if you will want to argue that these are facts, the first powerful shift already happened. When we realize that this is a thought, and thoughts are optional. We constantly mix facts with thoughts, so it's essential to separate them. When you realize what are the facts and only facts in the situation, without all the story, judgment, adjectives, and opinions, you can see the situation with new eyes, with new mindset. And it's not always so obvious. Sometimes I am coached on a problem and a coach will point out, you know it's a thought, right? And I'm totally surprised. And I will say, wow, maybe, but you know what, for now, this is a fact. I'm not ready to see that this is a thought. But show me the impact and I will slowly start doubting the thought. It happens for me all the time. Now, what happens with the deeply rooted thoughts? First, when you know they are just thoughts, it already helps to loosen them up. And you know how you go to the garden, maybe you don't, but I do. You go to the garden and you pull out some weeds and by mistake, accidentally you pull out a good plant that's supposed to stay in the ground. So the roots are already a little bit damaged. I try to plant it back, but the next day I'm coming back and the plant is wilted. So it's the same with the thoughts. So when you know the thoughts, it already helps to undermine them. Next, when you ask yourself a good question, it helps as well. When you know what this thought is creating, you realize that this is taking you in the opposite direction to your goals. That helps to loosen them up. And how do you want to think about the situation? When you ask yourself this, how do I want to think about the situation? This is often a surprise for us that this is even an option. Somebody shared with me that she regrets a purchase. She purchased exercise equipment, but she said it's not worth it. It wasn't worth the money. So we explored what the thought is creating. She is not using it enough. In her mind, she undervalues the equipment. Because of course, if she starts thinking it, she will look for proof that it was not a good purchase. Proving to herself the equipment is not worth the money. It's not worth it. But if she invested herself into using the equipment, it would be worth more and more. The more she would use it, the more it would be worth. Of course, it would be worth more because there is a value we have on better condition and health. And it's not necessarily translated to money, but still it's worth, right? It is value. So we explored the effects of her thinking, and in a matter of days, she emailed me she finds more and more value in it and more joy in it. Look how simple it is. Another thing that is helping to loosen up the deep negative thoughts is focusing on the right direction, meaning past or the future. We often believe the thoughts because we have huge evidence for them in the past. We have proof, but what we want is different than the past. What we want is in the future, and we don't have proof for it yet. We don't have evidence. It's because you have to create the evidence. So instead of focusing on the past, we need to start focusing on the future. And we do it by engaging our imagination, exploring a possibility. Many possibilities, because there are many possibilities for you in the future. You just have to pick and practice believing. You see? It starts again with a new thought. We need to be deliberate about it because focusing on the past doesn't require energy. It's like falling into a downward spiral. But focusing on the future requires more energy from the brain, more thinking. But it's deliberate. It's the direction where you want to go. So that's all I have for you. The next episode will be about the obstacles to creating mindset and speeding up the mindset. I almost forgot. I want to share my joy with you. I actually thought that maybe 4 people will listen to my podcast, but I think it was already 30 or 50 together with the podcast on YouTube. And I have a first review. It's a review from Indigo Tanne. I hope I pronounced it right. Share-worthy. That's how she titled it, Share-worthy. I began listening to the Positively Rebellious podcast, and Joanna's super clear content was spoken in such a calming, inspiring way that I didn't get more than a couple minutes in, and I had to share it with my daughter and friends. The message is so clear and focused, which helped me experience self-awareness and genuine self-acceptance, a combination that filled my body with positive energy to take new actions forward on my biggest dreams, my soul mission. I'm deeply grateful for Joanna's healing voice in the world. Can you believe this? That sounds so great. Do you think it's about me? Well, I hope so. That she must be a great person, having great mind, having written such a wonderful review. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and remember, freedom is a state of mind.